And after a short intermission, we are back. We're like crazy.
Sorry.
Okay, anyway.
There will be a blooper video.
For what happened.
Look out for that.
That's not why it happened.
It wasn't why.
It died mid-chapter.
I had no more
so it's gonna be
storage,
snapped
so
together.
I had to go and delete a whole bunch of stuff in my storage.
But things happened during
rock
that
music
time.
and head rubbies, man.
Yeah, hence the crazy hair. Okay. Anyway, much as you try to kill your dearest friend and beloved prince, the schoolmaster smiled. So no matter how much I would try to control the story, and good now emerged triumphant in every new tale. He caressed the symbols on his pen's skin. Because there is something greater than the purest evil, Sophie, something you and I cannot have. At least Sophie understood. Her fire cooled with grief. Love, she said softly. That is why good wins every story. The schoolmaster said. They fight for each other. We can only fight for ourselves. My only hope was find something stronger, something that would give us a chance. I hunted every seer in the woods until one gave me my answer. One who told me that what I needed was to come from beyond our world. So I searched all these years, careful to keep the balance as my body and hope weakened until at last you come. The one that can tip the balance forever, the one more powerful than good's love. He touched her cheek. Evil's love. Sophie couldn't breathe, feeling his frigid fingers on her skin. The schoolmaster's lips curled into a smile. Sadler knew you would come. A heart as dark as mine, an evil whose beauty could restore my own. His hands moved to her waist. If we unite with each other to seal the bond of evil, if we marry for the purpose of hunting, destroying, punishing, then you and I finally have something to fight for.
Wait, how old is he?
Old.
I want to say that they said that there's at least over 600 years of storybook history, and he's from the beginning.
But he looks
But he
young.
restored his youth through
protecting his brother or whatever.
No, from her.
The balance. Well,
yeah, from her.
Yeah, her evil restored his youth.
Yep. The schoolmaster.
He's using you.
Absolutely.
Red flag.
Right?
The schoolmaster's breath grazed her ear. Never after. Looking up at him, Sophie finally understood. He had her same maleficent coldness, the same pain raging in his eyes. Long before Tedros, her soul had known its true match. Not a shining knight fighting for good, not someone good at all. All these years she had tried to be someone else. She had made so many mistakes along the way, but at last she had come home. A kiss? The schoolmaster whispered. A kiss for never after? The tears trickled down Sophie's cheeks. After all this, she would have her happy ending. He gave herself to the schoolmaster's grip, and he pulled her into his arms. As he clasped her cheek, leaning in for her fairy tale kiss, Sophie gazed up tenderly at her prince of her dreams. But now his face cracked at the edges. Charred flesh wormed through his luminous skin. Behind him, falling roses turned into maggots, and red candles lit up hellish shadows. Outside, the dawn sky forged infernal green, and the good castle blackened to stone. As the schoolmaster's decaying lips touched hers, Sophie felt her vision blur red, her veins burn acid, her body wrought to match his. Skin blistering, she held her prince's eyes, begging to feel love, the love that storybooks promised her, the love that would last an eternity. But all she found was hate. Devoured by a kiss, she found at last she would never find love in this life or the next. She was evil, always evil, and there would never be happiness or peace. As her heart shattered with sadness, she yielded to darkness without a fight, only to hear a dying echo somewhere deeper than her soul. It's not what we are, Sophie. It's what we do. Sophie tore herself from the schoolmaster's grip, and he spilled back into the stone tables, sending the story and the storybook smashing into the wall. In the fallen story, she glimpsed her half-rotted face, split cleanly from forehead to chin. Breathless, she fled for the window, but there was no way down the tower. An eerie green fog she saw in the far shore. Gone were the weapons, the spells, the two sides. The sledge pits overflowed with blackened bodies, children punching anyone in face, punching anyone in sight, slamming faces into the muck, tearing at skin and hair, writhing and clawing for mercy. Sophie stared at this war she had started, good and evil fighting now for nothing at all. What have I done? She breathed. She turned to see the schoolmaster stir on the floor. Please, Sophie begged, I want to be good. The schoolmaster raised red-rimmed eyes, skin shriveling around a thin smile. You can never be good, Sophie. That's why you're mine. Slowly, he slithered towards her, terrified. Sophie shrank against the window as he reached rotting hands to grab her. From behind, soft, warm hands suddenly wrapped her like an angel and pulled her into the night sky. Hold your breath, Agatha cried as they fell. In tight embrace, the two girls smashed face first into crushing cold water. The glacial lake robbed their lungs, numbed every inch of skin, but still they didn't let go. Their entwined bodies plunged into Arctic depths and kicked towards the sunlight. But just as their hands stabbed for air, Agatha saw the black shadow ripping straight toward them. With a silent scream, she thrust out her glowing finger, and a giant wave rose, swelling them away from the schoolmaster and crashing them into evil's barren shore. Agatha willed herself onto her knees in the moat and heard the screams of war behind her. Rabid, slime-drenched children without faces or names plummeting towards each other like beasts. Then in the distance, a body rose from the sledge. Sophie, she croaked. The ooze slashed away, and Agatha dove for the bank in horror. She glanced back to see an old, decayed schoolmaster calmly wade towards her, Storian in hand. Gurgling, she scraped over wrestling torsos for the shore, oily black hands clawing at her face, sledge sinking her like quicksand. Agatha turned to see the schoolmaster gliding through it, unnoticed by the warring students. Gagging on muck, she pulled herself over the black mob into dead grass, lurched to her feet to run. The schoolmaster stood in front of her, flesh crumbling off a naked skull. I expect more from a reader, Agatha, he said. Surely you know what happens to those who thwart love. Agatha flushed with fight. You will never have her. Not as long as I'm alive. The schoolmaster's blue eyes filled with blood. And so it was written. He raised the Storian like a dagger and hurled it at Agatha with a deafening scream. Trapped, Agatha closed her eyes. A body coiled with hers and took her to the ground. Agatha's eyes opened. Sophie lay behind her, Storian speared through her heart. The schoolmaster let out a cry of shock. The war around them ceased. Bloody students turned in stunned silence to see their rotted, maleficent leader frozen over the body of the witch who saved the princess's life, the body of the one of their own. Sunken in sledge, evers and nevers, faces melted to terror and shame. They blamed each other and lost the real enemy. In foolish vengeance, they had surrendered the balance that they had entrusted to protect. But as eyes found the schoolmaster, their young faces hardened with purpose. Then, all at once, the silver-swung crests in both good and evil uniforms turned blinding white and came alive, shrieking and flapping. Instantly, the tiny birds ripped free, blasted into twilight sky, and coalesced into glimmering silhouette. The schoolmaster's face drained of blood as he looked up at the luminous ghost, a familiar face of snowy hair, ivory cheeks, and warm blue eyes. You are a spirit, brother, the schoolmaster scowled. You have no power without a body. Yet, said the voice. He turned to see Professor Sadler limp from the woods. Through the school gates, bloody by thorns. Trembling, Sadler looked up at the ghost in the sky. Please. From the sky, the good brother dove and smashed into Sadler's willing body. Sadler shivered, hazel eyes wide, then slumped to his knees, eyes closed. Slowly his eyes opened, sparkling blue. The schoolmaster backed up in surprise. The skin of Sadler's arms softened to white feathers, shredding its green suit away. Terrified, the schoolmaster turned into a shadow, fled across the dead grass towards the lake, but Sadler flew into the air after him, human arms now giant swan wings, and swerved down and snatched the shadow in his beak. With a searing bird's screech, he tore it apart, raining black feathers over the battleground below.
I'm sorry, but I totally thought this was supposed to be Sophie and Agatha's story.
Just took a turn. Now it's actually the schoolmaster's story. Psych!
We kind of get a little bit of a background, though, of how this
Yeah.
came to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, we knew a little bit, but,
We never knew if the headmaster was the good or the evil one.
Right.
and now we know.
Or what actually happened to the brother.
Mm-hmm.
And now we know.
Now we know.
Now we know. From the sky, Sadler looked down at Sophie and Agatha's arms, tears welling in big hazel eyes at first, and the last thing he would ever see. Then, his sacrifice done, he dissipated to gold dust and was gone. Faculty swarmed from the castles, freed from the schoolmaster's curse. Professor W stopped short first, then the others behind her. Lady Lesso's jaw quivered as Clarissa gripped her hand. Professor Anemone, Professor Sheeks, Professor Manley, Princess Uma all had the same scared, powerless faces. Even Castor and Pollux couldn't be told apart. All bowed their heads in mourning, knowing that they were too late for even the mercy of magic. In front of them, the children gathered around them, Sophie dying in Agatha's arms. Agatha tried in vain to staunch the wound, a mess of tears. Tedros dove beside them. "Let me help," he said, taking Sophie into his arms. "No," Sophie wheezed. "Agatha." Speechless, Tedros left her to his princess's arms. Agatha pressed Sophie to her chest, hands soaked in her blood. "You're safe now," Agatha said softly. "I don't want to be evil," Sophie panted through sobs. "You're not evil, Sophie," Agatha whispered, touching her decayed cheeks. "You're human." Sophie smiled weakly. "Only if I have you." Her eyes flickered with life. "No, not yet," Sophie struggled. "Sophie, please." Agatha choked. "Agatha." Sophie exhaled her last breath. "I love you." "Wait," Agatha screamed. Icy wind snuffled the last... Are you crying?
No, I have allergies and I've been fighting them off like the whole book, and they finally are like winning.
I was like, are you sniffling?
No, I am not.
I'm not. I'm not. It's just allergies.
Okay, to be fair, I do during movies. I'm really bad at that. Like, we go to the
Me
movies,
too.
she's like, yeah, I brought you a box of tissues, so
That's why I was
she's
wondering.
valid. I don't have that with books.
I was waiting for it. I was like, she's sniffling.
Actually, there has been a character death or two in my life where, like, I literally, like, closed the book and had to, like, mourn for a couple days before I could accept their death and actually finish.
Aragon. In the Aragon series, there's somebody who
That
dies.
and Dumbledore.
Dumbledore was hard.
I couldn't even finish the books after that. I actually stopped.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. If you haven't watched Harry Potter by now, at this age, you have failed yourself.
You mean read Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Read or watched?
Or watched. It's in the
Books
movie
are so
too.
much better.
I know, but it happens in the movies too.
Okay, fair enough.
So, at this point...
No, I think the one that hurt me the most, because I recently read the Aragon series. Oh my gosh. Third book. Somebody dies in that book. And it wrecked me. It wrecked me. I was on a walk and I literally screamed out, "No!" And I was like...
And the whole world heard.
And the whole world knew how bad I felt about that death. Anyway. I don't know. Any character deaths ever, like, really mess with you?
There was a couple in, like, a TV show that really messed me up. In Grey's Anatomy.
I was just thinking that. I was
Grey's
like, I bet
Anatomy.
you watched
They
Grey's
didn't-
Anatomy because
Well,
I've never
yeah,
I didn't
the
have
one that
attachment
died.
I
because
haven't
I
watched
only
Grey's
watched
Anatomy.
sporadically, so I didn't have the attachment. My stepmom, I've never seen her cry before, and like she was like,
I sobbed. With 007, I sobbed when he passed, and that's his nickname. So you won't know his nickname until he passes. 007, I sobbed on his episode when he died. That broke my heart so bad in Grey's Anatomy. I was done with it. I couldn't watch it for a while. But then I did end up going back to it. But that was a hard one for me. Because that was just...
yeah.
Everything that led up to it is so incredibly sad. And just... It's
There's
worth
no
watching.
way.
Did you ever finish Firefly?
The TV show?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay, did you ever watch Serenity?
I believe I watched it with you.
I'm a Leaf on the Wind.
That was rude.
that one
Rude.
That one wrecked me. Whenever I was watching it with Gary, and that was one where I screamed at the TV. I was like, no, I can't watch this anymore.
That was me with 007.
Yeah, I told Gary, I was like, how could you make me watch this knowing that was my favorite character in the entire series? How could you do this to me?
That sucks. I'm sorry.
I was like, how can you do this to me? That's why I love him so much. He's my favorite actor now. He does all this Disney
I'm sorry
stuff.
That he knew ahead that your character was dying.
What is something that you guys experienced in a book or TV show or movie that really wrecked you? And it took you a little bit of time to calm down and grieve before you continued with the series or TV show. Let us know below. We would love to hear what you said.
Back to Firefly, though, that actor is amazing in Castle.
Oh my gosh, no.
Best TV show.
Oh my gosh, like no, that's not that character. I mean, I think he was in Castle, but in an episode. No, it's not. You're not talking about him.
Oh, okay.
No, this was Wash. Wash, he's the blonde guy who always has the little dinosaurs and he's like super goofy. Yeah, he gets impaled.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, they end up he's trying to like outmaneuver another ship, and then he like you think you made it through it, and then the last second he gets through the cockpit. And like while he's like flying through, he's like, I'm a leaf on the wind, I'm a leaf on the wind, I'm a leaf on the wind, and then like he stabs him and he's like, I'm a leaf on the wind. Yeah.
I don't remember that. I remember the time. I remembered that saying, but I didn't remember.
No, he doesn't die. The guy that you're talking about doesn't die.
No, but that character, like I didn't remember that.
No, I love him.
But I remembered that quote.
No. Yeah.
Maybe it isn't. Maybe
we'll have to rewatch it.
I don't want to rewatch it now.
It's a good movie.
My heart doesn't want to rewatch that now.
You're like, I haven't seen Firefly.
When you babysit children and they make you watch Up and you bawl your eyes out the first 15 minutes, I'm like, I've watched that so many times now. How do I not? I'm like, I should be desensitized to that intro by now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm not.
Same
Every
with
time.
The ending of Toy Story 3. Ending of Toy Story 3.
You haven't watched that one yet?
You haven't seen the ending?
I'm actually surprised at how many people our generation haven't watched 3 and 4 Toy Story.
Really?
Yeah, because it totally shouts out to our generation.
Oh, it does?
Because they know we watched it.
Oh, yeah. It's like the giving up of your childhood toys. And it's just like, there goes my childhood.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, back to the book. I don't even remember where I am. Thank you.
I see one.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you. Wait! Agatha screamed. Icy wind snuffled out the last of the torches and blackened the good castle, vanishing behind dark fog. Sobbing, shaking, Agatha kissed Sophie's cold lips. Black feathers shivered on the dead ground between the children's feet. As they stared in horror, Agatha lay her head on Sophie's silent heart and wept in terrible silence. Beside their two bodies, the cold, bloody Storian, dulled to gray, its work finally done. As teachers took students into their arms, Agatha stayed holding the body, knowing she had to let go. But she couldn't. Cheek wet with Sophie's blood, she listened to the sobs rise around her, and the winds rake through the war-torn sledge, her shallow breaths wither against a corpse. And the beat of a heart. Color returned to Sophie's lips. Glow warmed her skin. Blood faded from her chest. Her skin restored to its beautiful whole, and with the shocked breath, her eyes opened, emerald clear. Sophie? Agatha whispered. Sophie touched her face and smiled. Who needs princes in our fairy tale? Sun exploded through fog, coating the two castles in gold. As the grass around it greened, the Storian blazed with new life and soared back to its tower in the sky. Across the shores, children's robes, black, pink, blue, melted to the same silver, dissolving their division once and for all. But as jubilant students and teachers descended on the girls, they suddenly retreated. Sophie and Agatha had started to shimmer, and within seconds their bodies turned translucent. They spun to each other, for in the wind the two heard that the others couldn't. Tenors, tolls of a town clock, closer and closer. Sophie's eyes twinkled. A princess and a witch. friends, Agatha gasped. She whirled to Tedros. With a cry, her prince seized for her. Wait! Light slipped through her fingers. They were gone.
What?
The end.
Boom.
Wow.
Dang.
Leaving on a cliffhanger.
Well, for all of you who have stayed with us through this book,
Thank
the
you.
next book, if you wish to read it yourself, is Good and Evil: A World Without Princes. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We have completed this book now. I will not be returning for the next book. I'm going to take a little break.
But we will be
they're gonna
continuing.
Yes.
bringing you a Christmas surprise.
Literally, we're planning on posting the next video on Christmas Day as a Christmas present to all of you.
Yes.
And a reveal of what your next book is going to be.
Yep. You'll
So-
know then.
Check on Instagram for that update, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
We'll
Well,
probably leave little clues to make you guess what we might be reading up until Christmas Day
And-
on Instagram.
This will be the first book that we're
You guys should do like an advent calendar of clues.
an advent calendar.
Yes.
Clue.
Yes, we
I don't know if
can.
I know that much about this book to be able to do that.
That's what the internet is for.
But I
That's
don't
how
want to
we
get
all
spoilers.
graduated those high school essays, you know.
But I don't want to get spoilers. This is the
We'll
first
do
book.
something as little
if you
tidbits.
tell me the book, I can help.
This is the first book that we will be reading that I have not read. So I'm
Yes.
very excited about it. We made the decision, we were talking about it, and there were some books thrown around that I have read, like A Court of Thorns and Roses. But we decided
To do one none of us have read.
to
Yes.
enjoy it.
And then I'm gonna still watch your videos since I'm not gonna get to read it to you guys, but I'll watch it.
Yay.
And then you'll join us for the next one.
Yes. She might special guest every once in a while on this.
I'll come
we'll
annoy
see.
you when I miss your faces.
Yes. Well, thanks guys for tagging along. We'll see you in the next adventure that we're starting.
And since I won't see you guys, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye guys.